Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So today we are going to be doing a general campus tour, so kind of getting our all-around view of campus, which is a really awesome place to start if you're just here with us for one of your first times, or it can be a really great way to add on. We're going to do a couple of things that we don't usually do. We're also going to see a residence hall today. One of our tour guides is going to take us into her dorm. So very exciting. You're going to see the inside of a real dorm. We're also going to go into a couple different academic buildings. We're going to walk by some dining halls, kind of walk through the heart of campus as well, so you can kind of get a feeling for it. We're starting to get more people signing on, and our tour guide's getting set right outside this building. So I am going to wait just a minute to let them come on. I will say I'm going to encourage you to talk as much as you possibly can through the chat. So you have your chat off to the right. Please chat any questions that you might have that you want us to answer today, if it's a general question, or Rebecca is our tour guide today. As Rebecca's talking, if you have any questions about anything she's saying, feel free to drop it in the chat and I can definitely get her to answer them for you. We are here to answer your questions today as best as we possibly can. So that's probably my number one thing for today. Definitely ask us any questions that you have. We would love to answer them, love to help you out in your college search. I know that this is when you're applying, so you might be having a little bit more pointed questions than you might have over the summer earlier in your career of applying to UNH. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Nicole. I'm a senior at UNH. I'm a neuroscience and behavior major. I have a sustainability minor, and I'm a pre-med student, so I'm applying to medical school right now. I've been a tour guide for about 2 years, so I'm really excited to have you guys all on the line today. We've been doing live tours for about a year, so we're starting to figure them out a little bit more, and we're definitely very excited to get started today. I'm just going to wait for Rebecca. She should be on any second. She's our tour guide for today. I'll let her introduce herself. But we are starting today at Smith Hall, which is home to admissions, which is why we're starting there, but also home to a couple of different things on campus I'm going to save for Rebecca. But for those who are hopping on now, I just wanted to remind you, please ask any questions that you might have in the chat throughout our tour today. So whether it's a question for myself or for Rebecca, we're both undergraduate students, or if you just have a general question that you want us to address, we'd be more than happy to. I'm also going to frame the tour again, just for those who are hopping on now. So we are going to see some academic buildings today. We're also going to see our student union building, one of the dining halls, and we're actually going to go into a residence hall as well. So really excited to show you guys inside of a residence hall. We haven't shown a residence hall this semester, so it's definitely going to be a really great resource for us to do this online. So not only all of you on the line today, but also anybody who signs on at a different time can watch. All right, so just waiting for our tour guide to hop on. Gonna make sure that you guys just once more time, drop those questions in the chat. Rebecca, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
I can't hear you. Tour guide to hop on.
Wait, are you muted, Zach?
Gonna make sure that there we go. Nope, I can hear you now. You're all good. Those questions.
You can hear me?
Rebecca, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. You good?
Perfect. Yep, we can hear you great. All right. So I told everybody that we're starting outside of Smith Hall. Do you want to kind of tell us a little bit more about this building?
Yeah. I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Rebecca. I use she, her pronouns. I am a junior mechanical engineering major from Southington, Connecticut. Right now we're standing in front of Smith Hall. So Smith is basically like the center of campus. The way that campus is, just to give you like a little bit of a set in where you are, there's the academic core, which includes Smith, any of the academic buildings, and as well as T Hall and the library. Then as you go out, there is residence halls, and within them there are 3 dining halls, and we will get to show you some of that on our walk. So to give you a little bit more about Smith, we like to say that it is the mother of campus because it has basically everything you need. The first floor is admissions, so if you ever came to UNH for a physical tour, that's where you would be. But it's so much more than that. One of my favorite resources, which is on, I believe, the top floor, is PACS. PACS is our psychological and counseling service on campus. Essentially, it is like our therapy. You get 8 free sessions every, I believe, year, and then you can do as many unlimited group therapies as you like. I like to suggest this to anyone, especially if you're living away from home for the first time, if it's a little bit nerve-wracking for you. I've used it personally, and I really like the people there, and I think the staff all really care about you. And then going through, we also have CFAR, which is our Center for Academic Resources. Essentially what CFAR does is help you learn how to learn. So if you are going from a very big transition, you can learn how to start studying in college. You can learn what kind of schedule works for you, whether that be like hour by hour, or if you just need to have to-do lists and things like that. Also in Smith, there is the Student Accessibility Services, which basically is if you have anything that you need an accommodation for, whether that's testing or a physical disability, or an example that I normally give is if you break your arm and you need someone to help you take notes in class. Those are all things that SAS will help you with. I'm going to apologize in advance. UNH has a lot of acronyms. I'm going to make sure I spell them all out for you, but I know it can get a little confusing sometimes. So, that's everything.
Awesome, thank you. So as we just kind of go out through the tour, we've got a couple people hop on. So I just want to remind everyone that if you put any questions in the chat, I will relay them to Rebecca and she will be able to answer your questions throughout the day. But yeah, Rebecca, keep going. Back to you.
All right. We are going to start walking towards the Memorial Union building, which is like our student union on campus. And within that, we're first going to stop at HOCO, which is full name Holloway Commons, which is our biggest dining hall on campus.
So,
here,
Rebecca, what is your...
Sawyer, and one is Stoke. Sawyer is one of our smallest. Stoke is our largest campus. Talk more about So what we're walking toward right now is Main Street. This is the main stretch of campus. Most things are branched off of Main Street.
Rebecca, what's your favorite dining hall on campus?
What's my favorite dining hall on campus? My favorite dining hall is Philly, which we may walk by later. It's a bit of a hot topic on campus of if you like HOCO, Stillings, or Philly better.
Mm-hmm.
My dorm that I lived in my first 2 years was next to Philly, so it has my heart entirely.
Yeah.
If you look right here also, this is T Hall. I don't know if you can see it, but that is the most prominent building on campus. And a fun fact is that T Hall is actually the most photographed building in New Hampshire. If you look over here, this is Hamilton Smith, which is the English and other like humanities buildings. To have like really like your intro courses that are very big lectures, they will most likely be in Smith. Also English 401, which is the basic English class that all freshmen take unless you have AP credit, that will be located in that building as well.
So if Philly's your favorite dining hall, what is your favorite meal when you go to Philly? Like what do you see on the menu that gets you really excited?
So I think I'm a big mac and cheese fan, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah. I actually have like a ranking system for all of the mac and cheese I've ever had. And Philly's ranks over HOCO's. But the caveat to that is that the mac and cheese bar at HOCO is better than the one at Philly.
Mm. Where did you live on campus freshman year?
Where did I what?
Where'd you live on campus freshman year?
I lived in Hubbard my freshman and sophomore year, which is the it has two themes. It has a SEP theme, which is the College of Engineering and Physical Sciences. And it also has the honors making the grade theme as well, which I really liked.
I lived in Peterson my freshman year. There was a life sciences theme in my dorm, which Rebecca will talk about all of our theme dorms a little bit later. But in the dorm right next to me, there was actually another physical sciences one as well, the Inception. So they are all over the place. It's a really nice way to get to live with students within your program. We also have them for like students in the liberal arts, students in our business school. So if you want to be able to go out in your common area and have everybody doing similar homework, maybe people studying for the same test as you, then that's definitely the place for you. I know I used to go to the life sciences floor being a life sciences student and see people doing my homework that I was just doing 10 minutes ago and stuff like that. So it's definitely a nice place to be. And it's a good place just to kind of maybe meet new people. There's like-minded people in your major, or you could always branch out, live with people that are from all different majors and meet all kinds of people as well. Rebecca, we have a question in the chat. Someone has asked, how many housing options are there for freshmen?
Technically, freshmen can live anywhere on campus. There are freshman specific dorms. I believe there's 4 right now normally. However, there are certain buildings that you may be like gravitating towards, especially if you want like any of the specific themed housing. Essentially, it's really up to you about where you want to live. If you want a freshman only dorm, you can put that in your housing application. But if you want to live in like a mixed level dorm as well, I thought that was really nice my freshman year.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. We have actually 6 freshman only dorms this year.
Okay.
We have 6 reserved for first year students, but you're correct. We always have 4, but this year they upped it to 6. So there's even more on campus, but I didn't live in first year only dorms either my freshman year. So you can have either experience and definitely have fun.
Definitely. So I'm going to talk about the building that we're standing in front of right now. The whole building itself, as I said before, is the Memorial Union Building, or the MUB, as we'd like to call it. Right here, this is Holloway Commons, or HOCO. It is our largest dining hall on campus. We'll get a little bit of a sneak of it when we walk by, but we're not going to walk through, just it's a little chaotic. So essentially how dining works on campus is that if you live on campus, you have to have some sort of meal plan. There are different levels with that. You can look at that on the website and decide for yourself what you want, but you get unlimited swipes regardless. So any time of day that you're hungry, you can walk to the dining hall and get whatever you like. There's always a main line of foods, like different varieties. They'll normally, I think, rotate on like kind of a 2-week schedule. So if you see something you don't like, it's most likely the next day that you will find something that you like. Anytime I go in the dining hall, I can always find something that I want. It's not that big of an issue. I'm not a super picky person, but even my pickiest of friends find food that they like there. And there's always staples, like there's a deli, there is, there's normally pizza, there's normally pasta, there's normally salad. So it's all very like staple foods, and you can find like your go-to thing if you don't like what's in the main line. There's also very individual places as well, like little cafes. There's normally inside of the MUB, there is a Dunkin' Donuts. There's also smaller places like Albert's, which we'll walk by later, as well as Philly Cafe and Wild Kitty, which are more late night options. The dining hall has all of their hours posted on their website. Also, if you download the UNH app, you can find the list of the dining menus for up to like 2 weeks in advance. So if you want to plan out what dining hall you're going to go to for the week, that is totally an option you can do. I think, did I miss anything, Nicole?
You want to talk about themed dinners a little bit? That's like my favorite part of the dining halls.
Okay. So yeah, normally I think like a week before you'll start seeing all these posters for like themed dining. I think one of my favorites is the Italian one. And they also have a bunch of other ones too, especially if you want to try different like types of food from different cultures. It's a really great way to get kind of like a little taste of that. I do think that the Italian one is my favorite. They also have like bars that they do as well. Like they have, like I mentioned before, a mac and cheese bar, or they have like crepes sometimes, or they have burgers. So they'll have it like, so it's very customizable as well, which I think is really great.
My favorite themed dinner is definitely the harvest dinner in the fall. It's all of these like really like warm fall foods that are all from like local farms. And I love Thanksgiving too. So it's hard to pick. Italian's up there as well, but it's so fun. There's about one a month. So you always have like one to look forward to.
Yeah, I completely forgot about harvest dinner, but yes, I do think that's one of the best ones that they have.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to walk us past Hoko and then we can kind of start to go through the MUB?
Yeah, so I'm going to point out, I'm going to put on my mask because anytime you walk into a building on campus, you have to wear a mask. That is a requirement that sometimes can fluctuate, and everyone at UNH is trying really hard to be super receptive of it. So let's all head in.
And Rebecca brings up a good point with her mask. Just in case anyone's wondering about how testing and things like that are working on campus, depending on whether or not you disclose your vaccination status to the university, that does change how often you test. But everyone is testing at least once every other week. Yeah. So we do self swabs and we hand them in on our own time. So we do those just to stay safe. But Rebecca, do you want to tell us about where we are a little bit?
All right, so we just walked in. This is where you'll normally enter into Hoko. You can either like scan
and kind of into the Memorial Union building. They are connected. It is two different buildings, but they kind of just function as one. So Rebecca's going to tell us all about the Memorial Union building in a little bit. But we are just going to show you kind of the walkway in between. As we pass through, you're going to see our mailroom. So anytime you live on campus at UNH, if you got an Amazon package or if your parents sent you something from home, you would get it right here in the MUB. So you're not going to have to walk too far. You get an email actually when your mail comes, which is really convenient. And then you can just walk right into the MUB and pick up your mail right here. We also have our ID services right here. So that way, if you lose your ID, and I hope you don't, but if you do, they can help you out right on campus, an easy solution as well. And then now we're entering into a little bit more of the Memorial Union building. So as Rebecca's walking, you're going to see a bunch of tables and chairs on her right. Just in a second at the end of the hallway. So this is Union Court. So this is a big open area that a lot of students use just to do work, but also before COVID, it functioned as a huge busy space to grab lunch during the school week. We're waiting for it to open back up patiently. I think everybody's missing Union Court a little bit. But while we're here, do you want to talk to us a little bit about other things that are in the MUB, Rebecca?
Yeah, so UNH has over 200 student organizations. That is a wide variety of either academic or non-academic. And a lot of them have their offices in the MUB. We can actually walk by them in a second as well. There's a wide variety. Just to give you some examples of things that I'm in terms of academics, I am in, say, Tau Beta Pi, which is the Engineering Honor Society. And I also am involved in Engineers Without Borders. So that's like the major part of it, because reminder, I am an engineering major. But then on like the non-academic side of it, my freshman year, I did the swing dancing club. So there's a bunch of different ways, and you can definitely get all of your interests by doing organizations. I like to think of it that even if like your major doesn't encompass all of your interests, you can find little things around campus that all encompass what you want to do with your life. Let's see. Also in the MUB, there are a lot of events that will happen. So like earlier last week, there was a MUB Fall Festival, which was in the Granite State Room, which is behind me. And they had all kinds of carnival games. There was candy apples. And they also had a shuttle to go through a corn maze, which was really fun to do. There are all kinds of different things to get involved with at the MUB. So if you ever don't know what you want to do with your weekend, you just hop on the UNH website and look and see what the MUB is up to, and there will always be something. There also is a movie theater on the top floor. I don't believe we're going to go up there, but all of the movies are free for UNH students, and a lot of them are pre-releases. So if you want to see something that comes out before it comes out in the theater, they most likely will have it at the MUB. There's also a games room in the MUB. It has pool, it has video games, it has foosball. So that's something else to do with your free time if you ever want some downtime. Let's see.
You want to tell us about the Beauregard Center?
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about it when we walk by, but I can now.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so the Beauregard Center, it was previously called the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs. Essentially, they are a big office that their main goal is equity, justice, and freedom. So anyone who holds a marginalized identity on campus has like a safe space there. It is a space that's open to everyone. There's all kinds of couches. There's actually free printing. It is a lot of very interesting people for you to meet. And they also have that side of it that they are looking to advocate for anyone who feels like they might not be overly represented. And they're also, just to go along with the theme, there are plenty of clubs on campus as well for any marginalized identity. There's Alliance, which is like the LGBTQ+. There is Trans UNH. There's also a bunch of ones for if you have any sort of for other like cultural identities, like the United Asian Coalition or Mosaico. Mosaico holds a lot of very cool events. I know they have a Latinx dinner coming up that I'm excited about. So we want to head downstairs. We can go and walk by it, and we also can walk by the bookstore as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I always have loved like the MUB's motto of if you're bored at UNH, it's your fault, which it sounds a little harsh, but it's funny because there's truth to it in a way of that there's always something to do. You can choose to stay home if you want to stay home. Nothing wrong with that. I like to stay home sometimes. But like Rebecca was talking about, there's Fall Fest, there's all these events thrown by all the clubs. So there's so many different things that you can do. But we do have a question in the chat. Rebecca, what's the most popular club at UNH?
Oh, I think one of the ones that I hear the most talked about is the New Hampshire Outing Club. I'm not sure if it's the most popular, but it is the one that I hear about the most. Because New Hampshire, if you're not from the area, it's very like lots of mountains, lots of really pretty woods. And we're also very close to the seacoast as well. So what the New Hampshire Outing Club does is they have trips to go skiing, they have trips to go hiking, they have whitewater rafting. It's a lot of very outdoorsy things to do. And you end up just signing up for trips, I believe the beginning of the month. And sometimes there is a copay for it, but it's never really that much.
Yeah, that was going to be my guess too. APO, which is one of our community service organizations. I've heard that they have a really large following too, but I feel like I have heard that the Outing Club is the largest club on campus. So thanks for throwing in and kind of explaining that a little bit. But do you want to talk about maybe where we are as we kind of make our way down that big MUB ramp?
Yeah. So right here we have the UNH bookstore. If you need textbooks, you can go onto the bookstore website and look up your like code for the class, and it will tell you any books that are required for the class. There also is a lot of swag and things like that if you ever want to go shopping for your parents because you forgot to get them something for Christmas. And then as we walk down here, down this really big hallway right here, that's where a lot of the offices are for all of the very lovely organizations on campus, as well as the games room. And then I'm going to point out as well, we have a Commuter student lounge. There is a really big Commuter community on campus. I like to point that out because my roommate from freshman year actually ended up becoming a Commuter, and she's super involved. And then right here is the Beauregard Center that I was talking about earlier. You can't see much into it that much, but that's also for privacy sake as well. But there's a lot of very nice couches. And then here, this is also the Student Senate office. So if you're interested in student government, I highly recommend checking out Student Senate. All right. So we're gonna go down the ramp over here. I will say this is one of my favorite spots that runs through.
Everybody that I knew from that lived in my area would walk up that big ramp that we would go to go to Hogo, the dining hall that we just saw. And when it gets cold, sometimes there's ice on the bridge and they close it because it's unsafe. And I remember one time freshman year, I was trying to walk up that bridge and people were just sliding all the way down. It was really funny to watch. Luckily, nobody got hurt. Everybody was fine, but they did close the bridge soon after because they saw that it was a little bit icy. But it is super convenient to just kind of cut through campus, an easy way to get to class a little bit faster. But now that we're walking this way, we're kind of starting to walk into one of the residential areas on campus. So Zach is kind of showing us Upper Quad right now. We're going to get a view of it as we continue to walk. But we're also going to be on Academic Way in just a second, which is kind of the academic core of campus. So we're going to see a couple different academic buildings. We're going to walk by and Rebecca will point them out, but we're going to go inside of one academic building today just for time. We're going to go into the building of engineering and physical sciences, since that is Rebecca's specialty. So she'll definitely be able to show us a cool route around there. And then we're going to go to her residence hall afterwards. But Rebecca, do you want to tell us about some of the buildings we're starting to walk by?
Yeah, so right on our left over here, this is Randall, which is a part of Upper Quad. There's a bunch of different sections of residence halls on campus, and it took me a very long time to figure them all out myself. A fun fact is Upper Quad is actually 3 different buildings, all connected together. And then as we come up this way, the building that we're facing right now is McConnell, which is our building of psychology. Fun fact about me, a lot of my friends are psychology majors, so they are in there a lot. And I actually have a lot of lectures in that hall this semester.
Yeah, that is kind of the fun thing about being at a campus with a little bit more space.
If you look over here, it is McConnell. I like to say that the buildings kind of look like waffles. I don't know who told me that, but
I've heard them called the waffles too. I like to call them that. I do kind of like what you just mentioned, Rebecca, that you do end up having classes a little bit of everywhere, that your professors' offices, your labs, some of your upper level courses, those are typically going to be in the building that houses your department, especially offices, office hours. But other than that, sometimes they just need a place to put a class and find you a room. So my upper level psych course this semester is actually in the engineering building, which is fun because I've never had a class in there before. So it's been nice to kind of get to see that in the same way that Rebecca, it's probably nice for you to have a class in the psychology building and kind of get to see that as well. I love that I'm a senior and I feel like I've had a class in almost every building on campus. So I don't feel like I'm always stuck in the same 2 buildings, that I'm always kind of moving around, seeing new places, that every semester feels so different.
Yes. I'll point out, if you look down the street right here, that is where Hubbard is. And that's also where Christensen and Williamson are, which are 2 of the bigger freshman dorms on campus. And if you look right here on your left, this is Parsons, which is the chemistry building. I had my chemistry lecture in there, as well as some of my intro engineering courses.
Yeah, for somebody was asking about first year student housing options a little bit earlier. So as Rebecca said, there's 6 first year only dorms. Williamson and Christensen are 2 of the 6 and definitely the largest. So there is a really fun community over there because it's all first year students. There's definitely other large scale dorms as well. So if you want a large community, that isn't your only shot, but there is a really special kind of vibe around Williamson and Christensen that I've always loved.
Right here on our right, this is the PCAC, which is the Paul Creative Arts Center. I want to point out this mural is actually new. When I moved in, they put it up, and I think that it's very interesting. Everyone on campus is required to take Discoveries, which is basically our gen ed program, one of which is a fine and performing arts. I ended up taking an intro to Renaissance art history, and I also took a intro to drawing class just because I have an interest for drawing. But I also have one of my lectures in there this semester. A very popular fine and performing arts actually is puppetry, which I think is very interesting. You get to make your own puppet.
I know students as well that have taken classes like ballet and like other forms of dance who have zero dance experience. They're just doing it as a discovery. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people come out of it and they're like, that was so hard. They didn't really anticipate it to be really difficult. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, I love the discovery program because I've taken classes and things that I've never thought that I would ever experience. So just like Rebecca said, she's an engineering major. She got to take a drawing class and learn about Renaissance history. And that's interesting and kind of get to shut off the engineering part of your brain and kind of pivot on over to learning about something new, which I've loved doing. It's actually made me found my minor and kind of exposed me to a whole new area. So I'm definitely a big lover of the Discovery program.
Honestly, I like having the Discovery program. I know some of my friends who go to different colleges who don't like it. I like that UNH wants you to kind of be like more of a well-rounded student. I'm gonna let all these people walk by me. All right, you can go, you're good.
So this is our engineering building on campus. So this is kind of Rebecca's specialty. So I want to ask anybody any kind of academic questions at all, but especially if you have any interest in engineering or any of the physical sciences, Rebecca is definitely a great person to talk to for any of those topics.
Yes, so we're gonna go in right here. One of my favorite things that you nice everyone.
So I don't know if Rebecca can hear me right now. She's starting to cut out just a little bit. So until we kind of get her stream back, then I'll just tell you maybe a little bit about where she's going. So there's 4 stories to our engineering building. It is a huge building. I've always said that it looks like a high school,
which is like why I came here.
So I've always kind of loved that big size. It's nice to walk a lot of places.
If that is something that like
to work. There's subject specific libraries inside. So it's definitely a really great place to do some work, even if you're not an engineering major. So while Rebecca and Zach kind of get set again as we leave, we lost you for a little bit while you were in Kingsbury, Rebecca. So if you guys wanted to take a stop while you're outside really quick and just tell me about academics a little bit.
We're gonna like stop up here. Yeah. It is? Okay.
So Rebecca, are you gonna stop on the corner and talk about academics? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
I'll let you know that we also did get a question. Someone said, how intense is the engineering major first year? How were you able to balance that with other things? And they also wanted to know about class sizes and professors.
Okay. So just to like talk about engineering specific, and then I'll talk about academics as a whole.
Great.
What I've found, I did engineering pre-college, so I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, but I think they do a good job of easing you into it. My freshman year, I only took an intro to engineering design. So I learned how to do CAD. I had learned previously to do CAD, but it was with SolidWorks, which I hadn't done before. And everyone who's in SEPs essentially will end up taking like calculus and physics, things like that. So that is something you will do your freshman year. And those are normally on the bigger side of sizes of classes. But the way that like I've kind of gone about like feeling like I'm in a small classroom in a larger lecture is I sit in the first couple rows. You might think sometimes like, oh, I'm a nerd if I sit in the front, but you're not. The professor likes the people who are in the front, and it makes it a lot easier to ask questions. Know people who also like regularly sit in, and you'll meet people that you can like talk to about homework and things like that. In terms of workload after that, because I am a junior, this semester is a little bit tougher, I've realized, but it is all like decently manageable. And there are also a lot of people like your professors, your TAs, people like that who all want to help you figure out the best way to go about your education. So like my TAs have all made office hours, and they sent out like a when to meet, asking all of our availability so that they can be available when we are available. And just a general note that like something you will soon very quickly find at UNH is that everyone who's like on campus wants to help you in some capacity. My freshman year, I took econ. That was a requirement for my major. And I really did not like the class that much, but I loved the professor, and going to his office hours and being able to have like that like connection with the professor made me like the class more than I would have otherwise. If you listen to nothing else that I say, please go to office hours. Like whether you want to like meet your professor, which is something professors love, or if you need help, like it is a very good idea just to go, even if it's just for the sake of going. And also building connections in your classes is a very good idea as well. So if you meet a professor, he or she might teach a different class, or they might have a colleague, and then it's easier to have like that sort of network. I think that goes for all classes as well. I have a lot of friends in very different majors, so they all kind of have that commonality with it. And then in terms of how like the engineering schedule is set up, you do get more classes in your major as you go on. I think that's true of all majors. Like I have 4 classes that are all major based right now. And my freshman year, I had technically 1 that was in my major. So I wouldn't let it intimidate you. Just be aware that like this might be a lot, but know that like there are people there to support you through anything. So I know we did touch upon the Discovery program earlier.
Do you want to talk about maybe studying abroad?
Oh yeah, I can talk about study abroad. So I have not personally. I do know people who have and people who plan to. It's pretty like easy to get involved with. Essentially, there is an office on campus that you can talk to them, and they will tell you what fits with your major. UNH does a really good job of like making sure everything's going to carry over for you as well. Like if you take classes in another country, they'll make sure that they transfer to UNH. So like I have a friend who is a environmental conservation sustainability major, and he is planning on going to New Zealand in the spring for his major. So
yeah, is he doing EcoQuest? You know,
he is doing EcoQuest. Yeah,
EcoQuest is like famous if you're interested in like biology or ecology, because you get to go to New Zealand and do like really hands-on research. It's really cool. But there's over 200 programs, so like Rebecca said, you can kind of pair it with what you're interested in, and you will get a study abroad advisor that's going to help you make sure those credits transfer. And you can also do a UNH approved program, which means that you can pay exactly what you would pay to be in Durham to be abroad. So you can pay the same price as your UNH tuition, which is really awesome. Rebecca, just to give you a time check, it is 4:41. So we have about 20 minutes left. So if you want to start heading over to your residence hall, I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to see your hall and have questions be asked and answered about that.
Yes. And while we're walking, I want to do a little plug. I'm in the honors program, just going along with academics. When you apply to UNH, they immediately consider you for the honors program. And I know this happened to Zach and other tour guides, is that after your first semester, they look at the top. And what I've liked about that, what I've liked about the honors program so far is just that you can have like your discoveries be different. Like, freeze for the program between 12 and 20. So it's a little of like, which I like. So yeah.
Becca, you seem to be cutting out a little bit again. So
I'm cutting out.
While you kind of walk for a little bit to get better connection, I'm going to talk. Someone asked about exploratory programs for undecided majors. So you actually don't have to declare a major till the end of your sophomore year. You can come in declared, you can declare before that, and that's all awesome. But if you need that time to figure it out, that's great too. So based on what college you go undeclared in, so for example, if you know that you want to be involved in engineering in some way, you like the physical sciences, you can be undeclared there. Or if you're like, I like liberal arts, I like history, English, literature, a language, I just don't know which one, then that's great too. So they actually have seminar classes where you sit and you hear from either people who are in the fields that you could go into, as well as professors and members of the staff in the departments that you're surrounded with. So I know I had a friend who was in the liberal arts undeclared one, and they had people from all different programs on campus come and talk. All different people in the field that said, like, I have a sociology degree, here are all the things that I can do with it. You also get paired with an undeclared advisor. So you get paired with not only an advisor, but an advisor for someone that's specifically undeclared. So that way you can be with somebody who is an absolute professional at talking to those who haven't decided their major. I know that same friend of mine that was undeclared, she met with her advisor. She helped her pick what classes to take to kind of broaden her horizons, while also kind of tailoring it down to what she became interested in and kind of slimming it down every semester until she realized what she wanted to do. But Rebecca, I'm going to give it back to you. We are outside of your res hall, so we can kind of go inside and look around.
So I live in Handler Hall. I'm actually an RA in Handler Hall. I'll explain what an RA is in a second. But this, like Nicole was saying, is that we have an inception floor. Just like a lot of other buildings on campus have other ones, like how Nicole mentioned Peterson has life science. Gibbs is a sports dorm for people who enjoy sports at a more like lower competitive level. There is also gender inclusive housing in Divine, and I believe in the minis as well. And a fun fact that is new is that there is an e-gaming floor on the 5th floor in Stoke. So I don't think we're gonna have connection when we go up in the elevator, just so you know. So let's head in. And I want you to notice that I'm going to swipe my ID to get into the building. You can only swipe into a building that is yours. You can't just go into other residence halls on campus unless someone lets you in.
So while Rebecca's walking in, you guys can look around, but just in case we lose you at it, where she's going to go in the elevator. So just in case we lose them, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about housing at UNH.
That's why we're
so Rebecca mentioned that she's an RA. So that means that she is a resident assistant. So she is an undergraduate student, obviously, that's going to live amongst other undergraduate students. And you're going to have them kind of as a resource. So if you have any questions for them, whether it's about class selection, maybe you're an engineer just like Rebecca and you're looking for help, or if you have a class in McConnell tomorrow and you have no idea where that is, that's a perfect questions. Also, any kind of roommate troubles, any problems that you might have, they're a really great resource. They are trained in all kinds of emergency situations. So in the unlikely event that anything were to happen, they are definitely a resource for that as well. In every residence hall, you're also going to have a resident hall director. So they're your real adult with a master's degree or higher. So they're there, again, for any kind of emergency situation. You don't have to worry about being completely on your own just yet. You do have your hall director and you do have your resident assistant as well. So you definitely have those people to lean on. When you're choosing what dorm to live in, I would definitely encourage you to check out the UNH website. They do a pretty good job of explaining kind of the community and the location of all of the residence halls. There is about 27 of them, so you do have a big choice. First year students can live anywhere but 2 of the buildings. So you do have a big choice of about 25 buildings that you can live in. But we are back on Rebecca's floor, and I can hear you now, Rebecca. So I will turn it back.
So I am on the 5th floor, actually. Fun fact, that's why we took the elevator up. You'll notice also, I just want to point out, you will see bulletin boards all over in your residence halls, and also every floor has a lounge as well. You can sit in there later. All right, so wanna step in. So also, because I'm in my own room right now, or like, yeah, you're good, Zach, if you want. Because like I'm in my own personal space, I can take my mask off. Not when I'm walking around the building though, just when I'm like in my space in their rooms. So you'll notice that like in residence halls, I do have an RA room, but also is suite style and traditional style. So traditional is like your singles, your doubles. Normally there are also triples and quads. Right now UNH is only doing doubles and singles for COVID. And I point that out because I lived in a quad my freshman year. And then on the flip side of that, there are suites, which are, you have like a bathroom, and sometimes you have a common room between multiple rooms. So you may end up in one or the other. When you fill out your housing application, you'll put down like your preferences of what you're looking for. As an RA, I have a single. So everyone gets a bed, and you have a dresser and a desk and a closet as well. I'm probably much more decorated than a lot of my friends are, but I like to make my room feel like my home essentially. So I like to feel at home, and I'm a very like cluttery kind of person, so to say. I like to have a lot of things and like be very decoraty about it. Also, I have plants. A lot of college students have plants, which is a very fun fact, and it's something for you that you can like bond over with other people in your hall as well, if that's something you're interested in. So to talk about like my experience living in residence halls, I lived in a quad, like I said, my freshman year in Hubbard. It was a mixed level dorm, which I liked because I could talk about things in my classes with people who had already taken my class. On the flip side of that, I do know people who loved their experience in freshman dorms, like I mentioned before. And then also my sophomore year, I ended up living in a double with one of my roommates from freshman year. My other 2 roommates, one of them ended up commuting to UNH, and the other one transferred colleges, but I still talk to her, which I find like kind of wild that she is in a whole other state now, and I still like check up on her and ask how she's doing. And then now here where I am. I ended up applying to be an RA, and I got accepted over the summer. So here we are now. And I believe, Nicole, you were talking about what RAs and RHDs were, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So we can go into what it's like picking a roommate and things like that. So you can go in random, or you can go in with a chosen roommate. I went in random my freshman year, which I wanted to just like meet someone, see how it worked out, and it worked out super well for me, actually, like I mentioned. The good thing also is that UNH is super receptive to if you have roommate issues. The first place to go if you have roommate issues is your RA. We do like conflict mediation and stuff like that. And you also fill out a roommate agreement with your roommate or your suite mates. And it essentially covers everything, like every common argument you would have with your roommate, whether that's about like guests or loud, like noise level, before about like when to have the lights on and off, things like that. And then if you do end up having like, you want to switch your room, UNH is super like good about trying to make accommodations for you. I'll point out we are at max housing capacity right now, which is super interesting because we weren't at the beginning of the summer, but a lot of people want to live on campus and want to have that college experience, which is really nice. And so I'm completely gone around the point. I apologize. That housing is really receptive to a lot of things, including like if you really need to change your room, they will try to make that accommodation for you. And also anything that you put on the housing website, some of my residents, anything you put on like your housing application, housing will read and they will do their best to make that accommodation. Like if you want a roommate who is in your major, they will do their very best to do that for you. There also is normally a Facebook group that's made and people will post little blurbs about themselves if you want to try to find a roommate ahead of time. Or if you want to say you have your best friend and you're coming to college together and you want to live together, that works too. It's really up to you. I wouldn't be afraid to have a random roommate because it's going to work out and UNH will do their best to make sure that you are comfortable wherever you're living. And
I'll kind of tell a story right along those lines. So my
Yeah.
freshman year, I went random with my roommates because I didn't know anybody coming to UNH. And so I got matched with people I didn't know, obviously. And I didn't get along super well with them. And then I met the girls that lived directly across the hall from me, and I became good friends with them. So I talked to my RA, and I actually was able to just drag my stuff right across the hall and move in with them because one of their roommates was deciding to commute second semester. So it worked out perfectly. A spot opened up. My RA gave me the paperwork, helped me even move my stuff over. So it was definitely an easy process, and she was a huge part of it. So it is something that you can do if it's what you want to do. It's not something that you have to do. I wouldn't be too worried about it, but if you need to, you can definitely do it. We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to encourage anybody with any last questions for any of us to please like put them in the chat. We're also giving you links. If you ask a question, you can see that we're giving links with a little bit more information so you can do a little bit more research. But any last questions, put them in the chat. And before we close out, Rebecca, I was just wondering if maybe you could talk about like some of the things that you did when you first came onto campus. So like orientation, first week of classes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So because I came in 2 years ago, I had my accepted students day, which is when like I first decided that I wanted to come to UNH. It was a little bit of a big decision because it is like a 3-hour drive for me, but I kind of just like knew from like the community aspect. And then moving forward from that, I had a June orientation. I ended up spending the night at UNH. That is not the way they did it the previous year. It was only one day, but it's really nice to be on campus and to like meet people and things like that. I actually was an orientation leader over the summer. So if you have any friends who are now freshmen, they might have met me. And then coming onto campus, for the first time, freshmen move in a little bit earlier than upperclassmen, and that's because they do like programs and social events for freshmen. Like now it's called Mubfest. Back in the day, it was called Jukebox, and there's a lot of organizations and a lot of games that come, and you can like meet and socialize, especially with people that live in your building. Also, I did not mention this before, the Mub often has like speakers or comedians or magicians come, which is really fun. So that is something that I did my like first weekend here. I'll say because I live far away, my parents like stayed overnight the day before and they helped me move in and we got dinner before. So that was really nice thing I did. Just a little side note, we didn't see downtown Durham. You can very much look it up or see other online tours for this. Downtown Durham has a lot to offer as well if your parents ever come to visit, which is something that my parents and I often do. But so then starting my first week of college, it was very getting to know my classes, getting to know where everything was, my schedule. I ended up like, I will make a schedule for myself. You can actually go on uScheduler. That is a very good UNH tool where you can type in all of your class codes and it will make every possible schedule for you. And if you want, you can just print out the one that's yours. And it took me, I think, about like 2 weeks to get like the feel of campus. But in general, like the first like 6 weeks is like when you're still going to be like learning and like getting used to everything, which is totally okay.
Yeah, what's something about UNH that you didn't know when you came here?
Oh, it's something I didn't know about UNH before I came here. Let's see. I did not know, this is a little sustainability plug, that most of our heating actually comes from a landfill in Rochester, New Hampshire, from methane gas. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's actually a great point about sustainability. That's something that I really didn't know about UNH either until I started to do more research. But like you said, 85% of our electricity and heat is actually generated by that plant. And then the other 15 is from other renewable resources. So UNH is actually powered by 100% clean energy on campus in Durham, which is super exciting. Also opens up a lot of doors if you're interested in sustainability and you want to study it at university level. Something you can definitely do at UNH, and is also, I think, a really great part of our community, of something that a lot of people value and that the school takes seriously. One of my favorite things about UNH that I can't believe we didn't talk about yet. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Rebecca. But so just to wrap up, you guys will see in the chat, we put some of our social media. Please follow us. We do have takeovers of students as they take you throughout their day at UNH. If you look on this YouTube channel, you can see some other tours that we've done. Also, if you want to subscribe, then you can see the ones that we're going to do for the rest of the semester. We have planned to do one specific to certain colleges, one specific to downtown Durham, one all about dining. So definitely stay tuned with those, and we will definitely keep you guys in the loop. But I want to say thank you to Rebecca. Thanks to Zach, who's the person behind the camera, and to everybody who signed on today. We loved having you guys, loved your questions. Hope you have a really great college admissions process and that you end up somewhere that makes you as happy as UNH makes us. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you some other time.